In this part of our discussion, you will learn something about the data loss prevention associated with the emails. The DLP lets you use predefined content detectors when we are scanning the inbound or the outbound emails. Google has specifically designed the predefined detectors which can locate the sensitive data in the emails. Maybe the credit card numbers, social security numbers, or even the passport numbers. The predefined detectors are available for many common US as well as the international data types. Like standard Gmail content compliance setting, we can work with the DLP detectors to trigger automatic responses. That's once again where we can work with quarantining, rejecting, or modifying the message. So let us first of all see introduction to the data loss prevention, and then we'll see in the admin console how we can work on the configuration for scanning the email with the DLP. So let's see the data loss prevention. The cloud.google.com has a link called DLP demo, and it gives us a welcome text. So in the options, I'm just going to uncheck this welcome text. So how the data loss prevention works. The data loss prevention on the Google Cloud will automatically detect the names, the phone numbers, and somewhere around 153 information types. Let me start by writing, "Hello, Mr. John Watson. We were trying to reach your number +91, maybe some number, for your card number." So I'm just going to put some card number. And your number was not reachable. So that is how we have just written some text here, and what you can observe below, we get to see that there is a phone number, which is the number coming up here, right? And this can even be some Canada's bank account, right? So these are the information types in the DLP. Now the last name is Watson, first name is John, and we get to see that there is some document type R&D system log, because this is a big number which we have entered here, right? So let me try to put in this way. So it is taking it like some vehicle identification number maybe, but of course, since this is not a valid credit card number, for a valid credit card number, right, it's gonna pick up that it's a valid credit card number. Now the DLP works in a way that exactly for your strings, right, it's gonna convert your string into something like this. So maybe wherever your phone number is coming up, so Google will just put the info type as phone_number. So for the user or the employee of your organization, if there is some inbound email, so if there is some incoming email to the organization with the customer phone number, or maybe some customer details which are pretty much sensitive, so that cannot be read by the employee and it cannot be misused. Now this is the major reason that why the data loss prevention is an important savior. Even we have something now associated known as this likelihood structure, so more or less the accuracy. So this content matching is not 100% accurate, because not all the types of data can be detected with some high confidence. Now for example, we have written some number here, right? So credit card numbers can be detected with some high confidence by matching a well-defined pattern, right? We call it as a checksum. So predefined content matching will not guarantee the compliance with the regulatory requirements. So as a customer, you need to decide which data is sensitive and how to best protect it. So now let us see how we can create a DLP setting with some predefined content detectors for the email part, right? So let's come to the admin console. We'll go to the apps, then the Google Workspace, and we'll go to the Gmail. So let us quickly log in. So in the Gmail configuration, we do have something known as compliance, if you see here. So let us go to the compliance. And in the compliance, we got the content compliance. You need to configure some, you need to write some configuration for your email content filtering, which can be words, phrases, patterns, and finally we got something known as the DLP or the data loss prevention. Now let me come here and write down name for the compliance. So let us say this is maybe credit card compliance. Now for what kind of email messages to affect, right? So I'll want both, right? So inbound and the outbound, and maybe internal sending and internal receiving as well. So that is how we are going to consider all these four options here. Now generally for your content compliance, you need to come up and add your expressions for the content which you want to work on. Now with the simple content match, right? So enter the content to look for. So maybe credit card. So this is something which I want to look for, right? So other than that, I have something known as advanced content matching, right? So where the match type can contain the text, right? For example, HDFC, and I'll say save. Then I'm gonna come here and add another setting here. So it can be the metadata match, right? So you can mention the metadata attribute. For example, I can say the Gmail confidential mode, and correspondingly you will have the other options coming up. So message is in Gmail confidential mode, or it is not in the confidential mode, right? So that is another configuration which you can add. So how is this data loss prevention going to come in action? For the data loss prevention, you got something known as predefined content match. Now the predefined content detectors, they are used with the data loss prevention from the Google Cloud, and they specify the sensitive content types to scan and report. So certain rule templates, they use these predefined content detectors that automatically scan and report the sensitive data. So how the content is typically scanned and reporting, it depends upon the type of content. So we have predefined content detectors. And if you see here, so for predefined content detectors, we have the country names coming along with, and at the same time we even have something known as global. For example, for the India, we got permanent account number or the PAN number, right? For the United States, we got social security number, and on a global level, we do have something known as credit card number, for an example. So globally, you can find the credit card number, which typically are the 12 to 9 digit long number. Then we have the bank account numbers, which is IBAN. Then we have bank account number for the SWIFT code, and so on and so forth. There are several you can say global level structures available. So now with this, once we do have this predefined template structure available with us, what is the next thing which you can do is, so what is the minimum match count, right? So since I have added already that the predefined content is supposed to be the global credit card number, right? So Gmail data loss prevention rules will apply to the licensed users with the appropriate Google Workspace offering. So what I'm trying to come up and tell here with this warning is that for this DLP setting, your Google Workspace must be into your enterprise mode, right? So it cannot be a business starter. It has, your plan should be on the enterprise level. Now let us come here and then say, so the match count over here, right, is the minimum number of matches. So number of times the specified content must appear in a message to trigger the action. For example, if you're looking forward for one credit card number, you can say one. But if you're looking for two different credit card numbers which appears in the same message, then I need to say two. The same way we have confidence threshold. So is it going to be high or medium? Generally, there are few messages which will exceed this threshold, which is listed as high. Okay, so the fewer messages will trigger the action. This message result in more of the false negatives, which means more messages being delivered when they shouldn't be. So as a result, you need to use this setting if you want messages to be delivered at the expense of occasionally letting the messages through when they should trigger the action. Now when it is selected as medium, so more messages will exceed the threshold, so more messages will trigger the action. Now this might result in the false positives, right? Which means that the more messages triggering the action when they should simply be delivered. So anyway around, right? So whatever you want to come up and select for your predefined content matching, that's like the DLP rules to apply. Then you need to say save. So we got these certain expressions. In the expression, you got one DLP, a predefined content detector, right? Which has been configured here. Now moving ahead, what we need to come up and do further is, so with the message, what you would like to do. So would you like to modify the message? Would you like to reject the message? Or would you like to quarantine the message? So what you would like to do out of three different actions, right? So if you want to modify the message, so what exactly you would like to modify? You want to prepend something to subject, you want to change the route, you want to change the envelope recipient, or you just want to bypass the spam filter here. You want to remove the attachments, or you want to also deliver it to more recipients. So we can say yes, it can be delivered to the more recipients, and for example, I'm going to say admin@whizlabs.xyz. Okay, I think recipient address, yeah, of course it is not there. So we can take some other configuration maybe. I can say reject the message maybe, right? So message contains, or we can take this message to the quarantine section, right? So notify the sender when the mail is quarantined. Now with more options to work on, if you want to manage the address list with this message, you can do that, which typically means that we can use the address list, and here you can either use one of the existing address lists in case you have, or you can create or edit a new list, right? So that is another action which you can take here. Then for the account types to effect, what are the account types to effect? Users, groups, or all, and then lastly you have this envelope filter option. The configuration remains the same. This you would have already seen in one of the previous sessions, how you can configure the email settings, but the only thing which we have added an extra part here is how we can work with something known as the DLP part, right? So let us say save this configuration. And you see one of the content compliance has been successfully added here. Let me add one more rule here for my inbound, outbound, internal, and receiving. So this time we'll try to come up here and create, let's say, social security. So let us add the predefined content matching, and this should be the social security number, right? So guys, we can say save, and that's it, right? So we can say save. Okay, so what we need to do, maybe we can let's say modify the message with some subject prepended to it, right? Like SSN, and we can save it, and that is how now you would have two content compliance rules. So you can work with the DLP and you can create as many as content compliance rules, whatever you are looking forward to have in your configuration. Now, other than this configuration, you do have the basic configurations working on. The only thing is that we just added something known as the DLP. So if you want to explore more on the data loss prevention, you can pretty much explore something known as a predefined content detectors. So I can just come here and say predefined content detectors. So here we are. So here we go. With the global, you get to see so many different predefined content detectors. Let's say the email address. So with the email address, maximum length of the domain is 255 characters, so on and so forth. We got age, ethnic group, gender, identity, medical context, right? And then moving ahead with respect to the countries, you got all these predefined content detectors. For example, in India, we got Aadhaar and the permanent account number. Whereas if you see for the United States, we do have the social security number, the driver's license number, so on and so forth, various other structures which are available as your predefined content detectors. So explore more on the predefined content detectors and create some great rules and do the configuration for your content compliance. So this is what we got over the compliance and the regulatory requirements when it comes to the data loss prevention with the Gmail. Thank you so very much.
For more details, check the link in the description. Learn with Whizlabs. Success certified.